I'm Dr. Orion Taraban, and this is PsycHacks, Better Living Through Psychology. And the topic of today's short talk is how to resist becoming emotionally attached. Now, you might be thinking, Orion, what are you talking about? Isn't that bad? Isn't that toxic? Are you really going to teach men how to be cooler, less emotional, and less invested in their relationships? And my response to that would be, yeah, I am. That's exactly what I'm going to do. Because there is a time for a man to be emotionally invested in a relationship, and there is a time for a man not to be emotionally invested in a relationship. And what is that time? At least the first 6 months of a relationship. I have talked with too many men over the years whose problems stemmed from the fact that they could not resist becoming emotionally attached to a particular woman before she had been properly vetted for a relationship. So many difficult and problematic situations could be avoided entirely if men could learn to exercise a little restraint in this department. My dudes, there is a reason why buyers expect a diligence period before any big purchase, like a business or a house. They don't yet know what they're dealing with. They don't yet know whether the particular opportunity in front of them is actually what they want and hope it to be. And if they don't figure that out before the sale, it's going to be their problem after they hand over the money. Similarly, men should consider the first 6 months minimum to be the diligence dating period. Why 6 months? Because it typically takes at least that long to reach the crisis of disillusionment, in which the projected fantasy to which you have been attracted is shattered by the reality of who the other person actually is. And if you decide to give your heart to a woman before you can see who she really is, then you're not just gambling. You're gambling without even bothering to learn the fucking rules of the game. Don't do that. That is stupid. And it's stupid for 2 reasons. In the first place, if you decide to emotionally invest in a woman who turns out to be of poor moral character, you're going to suffer. And you're going to suffer because ultimately you will need to choose between your head and your heart. That is, you'll have to choose between what is good and right for you and what you've already chosen to love. And that's a terrible position to be in. Like, no matter what you do, it's going to hurt. And it might hurt real bad. And frankly, you did that to yourself because you did not exercise sufficient restraint and discernment before choosing to emotionally invest in that particular woman. Resisting this investment is an emotional survival strategy. And in the second place, if you decide to emotionally invest in a woman before it is warranted, you will place yourself in the adorer role. This will force her in the place of the adored, which is generally not where women want to be because it robs them of the emotional experience that women typically seek from romantic relationships. A man in the adorer role is also less attractive because if you're looking up at her, then she's looking down at you. And it's very hard for a woman to love, let alone respect, a man that she is forced to look down on. So emotionally investing too soon can significantly compromise attraction and drive a woman right out of your life. Remember, you can't want someone into wanting you more. So just cool your jets. Either way, it's just not a good idea for men to allow themselves to emotionally invest in any given woman until they conduct sufficient due diligence. They may need to actively resist the urge to do so. A lot of guys, they have a great first date and they're already thinking about what their kids are going to look like. Or they meet a woman who fucks them real good and they think, wow, she's perfect. I finally found the one. This is inappropriate, gentlemen. It's like, I'm glad you had a good time or a fun night or two, but don't get ahead of yourselves because you are setting yourself up for a fall. Now, before I go any further, if you're liking what you're hearing, please consider sending this episode to someone who might benefit from its message, because it's word of mouth referrals like this that really help to make the channel grow. You can also hit the thanks button and tip me in proportion to the value you feel you've received from this message. I don't do corporate sponsorships or product placements, so this is how I keep all of this running. I really appreciate your support. Thank you very much. Men, it is your job to resist the pull to emotionally invest in any given woman until it is appropriate to do so. Dealing with women is a lot like playing poker. Every once in a while, you're going to be dealt some good hole cards. If you start jumping out of your chair and changing your betting behavior every time you get pocket aces, you're not going to win that pot. And you haven't even seen the flop yet. Like, that's an advantageous position to be in, but you have to put on your best poker face in that situation. You keep a rein on your emotions and you don't deviate from your system, because that's your best bet of actually raking in a big pot. In that circumstance, you cannot allow your emotions to change your behavior. Now, there are several things that you can do to resist the pull to invest emotionally. First and foremost, you need to guard your thoughts. If she's not around, don't think about her. In general, it's not a good idea to let your mind wander to things that aren't present in your life. If you do this, you will be where your life is not. And that's not generally where you want to be. You want to be where your life is, because at the end of the day, that's all you really have. Be mindful of where your thoughts are. Are you remembering how she moaned? Are you fantasizing about the next encounter? If you spend more and more time with the mental construct of a woman in the privacy of your own consciousness, you are basically training yourself to fall in love with the idea of who she is. That is unwise, gentlemen. Be mindful of this and redirect your attention to other things, your work, your friends, your fitness, or just what's right in front of you. Next up, if you've only known each other for a few weeks, you should not be texting every day, let alone all day, every day. Constant communication dramatically accelerates the emotional intimacy process. I understand that it might be reassuring and exciting, maybe even flattering, for an attractive woman to blow up your phone. However, if you respond to everything she sends you, then she is functionally dictating the cadence of interaction. This is the most common way that men slip into a woman's frame without realizing it. Get back to her when you want to get back to her. She's going to have whatever emotional response she's going to have. That's not up to you. And if she throws a tantrum because you kept her waiting, as opposed to feeling grateful that she got a response, then you just learned a valuable piece of information, didn't you? Here's another one. Inappropriate disclosure. Some of you guys are going out on like 12-hour dates, where by the end of them, you end up sharing your deepest, darkest secrets with each other, all of your previous relationship trauma, an abridged history of your entire childhood, and your most sincere wishes for the future. Why are you doing this? You do not yet know who this person is. You do not yet know what they are going to do with this information. This is like Achilles telling some girl he just met, I don't really like to admit it, but I'm a little soft around the ankles. Like, why would he do that? The rule of thumb is that if you're not yet ready to trust this person with your bank account information, then you're not yet ready for this level of vulnerability. After all, that's just your money. You can make more money. Trust me, being robbed is easier to recover from than a toxic relationship, though obviously I'm not recommending either. People make decisions with their heart that they would never make with their money. They believe that they can just get over things. As a therapist, let me tell you that it is actually fairly difficult for most people to just get over things. And getting emotionally involved with the wrong person is right near the top of the list of things that are hard to just get over. So until you trust someone with your money, don't trust them with your heart. Just be two consenting adults who enjoy each other's company. These three things, mentally obsessing about someone, communicating constantly, being too emotionally vulnerable, these three things are how people fall in love with each other. That's how men become emotionally invested. Now, I'm not saying to never become emotionally invested in a woman, just that you damn well better be sure that that woman is safe and trustworthy and competent and loyal before you do so. And if you're unwilling to take the time to figure that out beforehand, you are just asking for pain. And don't you have enough of that in your life as it is? So get a handle on your emotions, gentlemen, and don't be stupid. What do you think? Does this fit with your own experience? Let me know in the comments below. And if you've gotten this far, you might as well like this episode and subscribe to this channel. You may also consider becoming a channel member with perks like the priority review of comments or booking a paid consultation. As always, thank you for listening.